Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is the Hopenning, the place where hope is happening, and we are in episode 61. So thank you and welcome today. And we are trusting and hoping that we bring you a lot of hope. My name is Marina, and I'm here with my lovely co-host, Fran. Fran is a teacher for 34 years, not long anymore, and then she's retiring. And she's in Northern Alberta, Canada. She's also a rapid transformational therapy practitioner, and I'm that as well as a hypnotherapist. And I am in Calgary, Alberta, so we both Alberta girls. And Fran has the honor to introduce you to our wonderful guest today.
And our honorable guest is Adrienne MacIain. MacIain. I was practicing and practicing. Please forgive me. It's a great name, though. And she comes to us from outside of Seattle, and she is a best-selling author. And it's so exciting to have her here because she has the spark genius. She is a spark genius, which is also her website name, correct? And she just released a brand new book called Release Your Masterpiece. As well as many more books. She's a celebrated speaker and coach, and she teaches how to create and innovate with ease and enjoyment simply by realigning your natural creative process. And I can hear the crowd saying, yeah, I'm not creative, Fran. However, I know that you, Adrienne, are you going to tell us just not true? Because in your book, I'm sure that you're going to tell us about it, but your book tells us exactly how to do it. And you didn't just show up here being all authory and a Ph.D. and a doctor. And you had a road trip too, didn't you? You had a journey to get where you are. And so, yeah, tell us a little bit about that first.
Ooh. Fran, thank you so much for that beautiful introduction. I feel like an authority now. I feel like I can show up with my full magic here today. So yes, absolutely. I get that so often, people saying to me, but I'm not creative. I'm not a creative type. And I just want to hug them like this and go, okay, there's a couple of things we need to understand first. Creativity is the most significant thing about humans. It is what makes us human. The fact that we can create, we can envision something that does not yet exist in our reality, and we can make it so. That's our special magic as humans. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to write or paint or even cook or create something out of your imagination and make it in reality in order to use your creativity. We use our creativity for problem solving. We use our creativity in conversation. We use our creativity just to show up in the world with our authentic energy. And so whenever somebody says to me, I'm not creative, I just want to laugh because I'm like, if you weren't creative, we couldn't be having this conversation right now. It would be like talking to an AI, right? And as AI is getting better and better, we kind of start to see the difference, right? There's that special something that humans bring to the conversation that AI just can't bring. Now, you can bring all kinds of critical thinking and rational skills and all that good stuff, but creativity is what allows us to innovate. When we look at, okay, so there's insight and there's outsight. Outsight is what we're taught in school. Outsight is where we take stuff from the outside world and then we put it into our brains and we mush it around and then we come up with an answer. But the thing is, you can't do that unless there's already an answer, unless the answer already exists. Insight is where it's like a download. It comes complete and it just pops out as something that didn't exist in the world before. And this is how all innovation happens. So you asked me about my story. There are so many stories that I could tell you, but the story that pops to mind first is that I was this first book, Melting Ivory. This is a story about a marriage that I was in that the man that I was married to, he was in the United States for the first time. He was from West Africa. And he was trying so hard to survive in this new reality. He reverted back to the only tool that he knew, and that was psychological violence. And so I was in this situation where I was being told that I was not creative, that I was not smart, that I was not a good person. I was being told every day of my life that I was worthless, and that without him, I would be nothing. And the thing is, when you're in a situation like that, over time, you start to believe it. You start to believe it. And you start to think, maybe I'm just crazy. Maybe there's something really, really wrong with me. And there's that gaslighting aspect, right? And I had this moment, I remember, where I looked in the mirror and I looked at myself and I didn't recognize myself at all. And I thought, who is this stranger who's in my mirror looking back at me? Who is this person? And maybe he's right about her. Maybe she's worthless. Maybe she's pointless, because I don't know anything about her. I don't know what she stands for. I don't know who she is. I had completely lost touch with my own self. I was trying so hard to be this person that he needed me to be, which he didn't even know what that was. But I had this moment and I thought, okay, I have to re-find me. I have to rediscover who I am. And what I found out is that I had become completely separated from my desire. I thought that I had to become somebody else's desire. I had to become the thing that they were looking for so that they could feel okay. And I realized it had completely divorced me from my own desire. What did I want? I had no idea. And I had to get out of that situation. That's a whole other story, which you can read in the book, in order to figure that out. But from that point, I started to realize, wait. There's all these things that I have judged. There are these things that I truly want for myself in the world, but I judged them too frivolous, or I judged them not important enough. And so I dismissed it. And the funny thing is, when you dismiss the thing that you really want, guess what happens? You don't want anything, right? You can't find anything that you want anymore, because you know what you want, but you think you can't have it, or you think it's not for you. And so everything that you try to go after, it just doesn't work. It just doesn't fit. And so you don't want anything and you get depressed, or you want everything and you get anxious that it's never going to be enough. And so in order to find our destiny, find what is written in the stars for us, we have to reconnect to desire. Desire comes from the word decidere. I'm a big word nerd. You're going to find this about me. I love words. Decidere, of the stars. It's the same root that destiny comes from. And so desire is that GPS signal that leads us toward our destiny. And as soon as we stop judging it, as soon as we embrace it and say, yes, this is what I want from myself. This is what I want to create in the world. This is how I want to be seen. This is what I want to be known for. This is what I desire. Once we accept that, then it's possible for us to make it happen. But until we do that, it is not. It is impossible for us to have it, because we're not aligned to it. We're focused on something else, right? I always liken it to the Netflix algorithm. You know, when you're watching Netflix, right? Let's say you saw a show on Netflix that you didn't like. It gave you nightmares. It messed you up. So you typed into the little search bar, please don't show me any more shows like name of show. Guess what's going to happen? Your lists are going to be filled with stuff like that, because that's all it knows is when you say this, it's a keyword, and that's how the universe works. It's like a keyword algorithm. And so the more you focus on the things that you don't want, the more they show up in your life. And the more you laser beam focus on my desire, on what you really, really deeply want, the more those things show up for you. And it's like the synchronicity thing where it's like the path just magically creates itself. Once you have that point, that focal point of here's my North Star, there's my desire, the path creates itself. And you are the path. You're not just on the path, you are the path. You create the path by desiring. Another thing I want to make really clear is that there's a big, big difference between desire and compulsion. A lot of people think that what they want are the things that they feel compelled to do or to go after. But compulsion is what happens when we feel uncomfortable and we want to get away from something. We have these compulsions to cover up that uncomfortable feeling, to distract us, to get us away from that thing that we don't want to feel or experience. And so we fill our life up with all these distractions, all these things that distract us and take us out of reality for a little while, so that we don't have to deal with the fact that our desire, we don't feel that desire alive in this moment. This book took me 20 years to write. 20 years. Because I was so scared. I was so scared to put it out there. I was so scared to talk about it. I was so scared to name anything that had happened. I was terrified. And so it took me 20 years to get my truth out there. And as soon as I did, I wrote 3 more books. And each of those books got closer and closer to really defining who I want to be in this world, how I wanted to show up. This first book was like, I had to get this toxin out of me. It was like I had to share this story just to like get it out of me, and it wasn't in my head anymore. I often say that our story, our trauma story, it's like a pair of glasses that we walk around looking at the world through, and we don't even know that we have them on until we take it off and we look at it and we go, what is this thing? Oh, this is a story. I guess this could be useful for someone. Here. And so once we give that story away, that's when the treasure trove opens up. That's when the treasure trove opens up. And we start to find all these goodies of like, oh, I have so many gifts. I have so much to offer the world that I wasn't even seeing and I wasn't even aware of. So what I realized is that I had a gift that I had been stuffing down for years and years and years, because I had judged it as a nice to have, right? As not serious, not important. And when people think about creativity, that's often what they think, right? That it's not important, it's squishy, it's a soft little nice to have, But let me tell you, unused creativity, that's some serious business. It will mess with your life. It's like a border collie, your creative energy, right? If you have a border collie, you know what I'm talking about. It can be a wonderful companion. They are great working dogs, but they are working dogs and they need to work. And if you don't give them sheep to herd, they will herd you. They will herd your friends. If you don't give them work to do, they will tear down your curtains. They will pee in your bed. They will chew up your shoes. Okay. And that's exactly what our creative energy does. When we're not putting it to work, when we're not putting it to good use, it creates problems to solve. Remember, we talked about problem solving, right? It creates problems for you to solve. It creates dramas for you to play out in your life because it has to tell stories. Creativity wants to create cool stories. And so it will create them at your expense. But when we take control of that creative energy and align with our creative flow, magic happens. Stuff just pours out of you with ease, with flow, with enjoyment. This bottom shelf here, this is all anthologies that I have helped to organize and be a part of. Down here, I've got books that I've helped other people to put out into the world. It is this generative thing where once you start doing it, then you give other people permission around you to show up in that same way, to show up for their passion so their passion can show up for them. And the beauty is that we all are natural. We are all natural creatures, right? And so your creative cycle is just a natural cycle, just like the seasons, just like the lunar cycle, just like any other, like the cycle of life, okay? It's this simple 4-part cycle that we all go through to create anything. And it's just dreaming, organizing, executing, revising. Doer. So simple. But we overcomplicate things and we ask ourselves, what should I be doing right now? Am I doing enough? Is it good enough? And we judge it constantly. And so you can't get anything done and you can't get anything out, because as long as you have that little critic sitting on your shoulder, judging your creations before you've even had a chance to fully create them, they cannot come out. It's like, you know, if you have a child and you keep constantly telling them like, no, that's not good enough. You have to do your hair like this and get your clothes like this and make sure that, you know, everything's perfect. Like, they'll never leave the house. Mm-hmm. They'll just be terrified. And this is what we do to our creative children, right? We make them afraid of the world before they even get out there. And the thing is, your creative energy is unique to you. Your gifts are unique to you. And so if you're not putting them out there, the world will not have them. The world cannot have them. And that is a real shame because, yeah, everything's been done. Everything's been said. You're not going to say something that nobody's ever heard before, but guess what you are going to do? You're going to say it in a way that one person out there really needed to hear. And they're going to understand it now in a way that they've never understood it before. And it's going to inspire them to do something that they could not have done if they hadn't heard that from you. When we put our stories out in the world, when we put our creative energy out into the world, it gives other people that inspiration, that motivation that they needed. And like I said, you know, maybe somebody else said it too, but the way that you said it, like, have you ever had this experience where you hear something and you're like, yeah, I know other people have tried to tell me this before. Like, I understand that. But the way you said it just then, now I get it. Now I get it. And now I know what to do. I'm going to grab a drink.
That was like the best pep talk ever, coach. I'm like, oh my God, I am going to do it. I am so going to do this. I don't even know what it is, but I am going to do this now.
And that's the beauty. You don't have to know what it is. You don't have to know what it is. You just need to know why it is.
Well, it's so interesting because I wrote a book.
That's what I was thinking about you, Marina.
But I did not publish it because I don't have the guts to publish it. I know you understand. Yes. Yeah.
It's so scary. It really takes so much courage. People don't realize how much courage it takes to put a book out there, especially a nonfiction book, especially memoir. Right?
Yeah. But it was extremely cathartic. So with that, I really agree with you. It was having it put on paper, I think it catapulted me to a really higher level. Yes. And the interesting thing is, looking back at it today, I have grown so much that the pain I felt that I poured onto paper, it's not really relevant anymore. It's really not my story anymore.
Yeah. I get that. I get that. This is why I love journaling. I'm a big proponent of journaling. Just write for yourself, write for like the universe, write for someone who's never going to read this. I burn my journals. I don't show them.
I've done that. Yeah.
Just because I want to remind myself that it doesn't have to be productive all the time. There doesn't have to be a product that comes out of this. Sometimes the process is the product. I've stopped using the word productivity. I say processivity now. I'm going to focus on being processtive. I'm going to show up for my process, and I am going to enjoy the hell out of my process. And that alone is a product. That feeling that I get by showing up fully to my process, engaging with it, loving my process, that in and of itself is a gift that I get to give myself every day. And then if something else comes out of that, bonus. And here's the trick. You actually get a way better product that way.
Yeah.
When you love your process, it shows, and people can feel that. I know you felt this when you're in a podcast recording, and it's like you're just having the time of your life, right? You're having so much fun. And those are the ones that people always remember to talk about. Like, oh yeah, I could tell that you were really into it. You were really there. When you're just kind of going through the motions and you're just like, yeah, I'll ask the questions and then I'm going to go do my thing. Those aren't the ones that people remember, right? It's when you're really fully right here, right now, and just feeling exactly what you want to feel in this moment. Because that's the other thing. It drives me crazy how people are like, well, I have to justify that feeling, right? I need to have this thing in order to feel this way. I need to reach this goal in order to feel the way that I want to feel. Oh my gosh. No, that's the opposite. It's like you're trying to tell the mirror to change your face. It doesn't work that way. You got to change your face to see the reflection in the world around you, right? This is the only thing that you can control. So it's like if you draw a smiley face on yourself in the mirror, that's not going to do anything, right? What happens out here is a byproduct and a reflection of how you feel. And so if you just choose in every new moment to feel exactly the way that you want to feel, reality lines up with that. It just aligns right to it. And then you get more and more and more things that make you feel that way. It's magic.
Amazing.
It is magic. Everything that you're saying is so applicable to my life. It is so applicable.
Tell me what's going on, Fran.
It is like totally, you followed me around, right? You've been in my brain with a little electrode stuck on there for the last 2 weeks. It's just like, it's like everything that you're saying. It's so true. It's like, I don't know, maybe I'll retire and maybe I won't, like, I don't know. I kind of like this job. And then it's like, as soon as I started to think I kind of like the job, then I started to realize all these really hard things about my job that I don't know if I want to do anymore, right? And the universe is telling me, it's like, hey, Fran, I think you're going to have some fun doing something different. I think you'll have more fun doing something different. And I'm sure I will, because I'm so totally having so much more fun right at this very moment.
Yes. Listen to that. Listen to that, Fran. Okay, that's the voice of source. Whatever you want to call it, right? Like, I won't even put a name to it. That is talking to you right there. And we know it, don't we? We know it when we get a message from that. But we're scared. And so we pull back and we go, I don't know, maybe. And it's so easy to like lean into it when it feels good. But then when it gets uncomfortable, you're like, oh, I don't know. Maybe I'll just go back to what I know and what I'm certain about, right? And so this is why we need each other, right? We need each other to stay accountable and to like keep showing up even when the process gets uncomfortable. It's like No, get through it, right? The only way out is through.
Well, I think you showed up at exactly the right time for both me and Fran today. So very grateful to you.
And this is how it works.
Yeah.
What are your practical stuff? I mean, you just gave me this pep talk that I can win the something cup. I'm gonna win the NHL thing this year. However, what's some practical advice that your book has that maybe our viewers would be really inclined to, like, just tell me how to do this, Adrienne. Just tell me.
Absolutely. Okay. So first thing I want to say is that there's this part of the cycle. Let me actually grab my little chart here. I'm going to show you my magical chart. Can you see that okay?
Yeah, a lot of C's in there.
So we have DOER, dreaming, organizing, executing, revising, like we talked about. But these are what I call the 8 8s. And so those are the little micro energies that guide you through that process. And when we feel stuck someplace, 9 times out of 10, it is because we are uncomfortable with the energy that comes right after this one. There's something about it where we're like, I'm not quite ready for that yet. And everyone has their comfort zone, right? Everyone has the thing where it's like, oh yeah, I could do this all day. This is easy for me, right? Some people are dreamers and they could just all day, every day, lie on a hammock and daydream, right? But when it comes to actually creating something from those ideas, those brilliant ideas that are always coming to them, they have a hard time because they just revert back to like, oh, new shiny. Now I'm going to focus on this new shiny idea, right? and they get in this rut of just dreaming over and over again. And then you have the people who are the organizers, right? These are the people who are like, okay, got an idea and I'm going to do a thing with it. And they're so excited, and they've got the charts and they got the spreadsheets and they got all the plans and they do the mind mapping and all this stuff, right? But then when it comes to actually executing on that plan, again, they just kind of like loop back. Then you have your executors, who are people who just want to do all the time. They never want to slow down, because when they slow down, then they feel like, oh no, now I have to think too much. And they get overwhelmed. And what they end up doing is, these are your talkers. These are the people who could like talk to you all day. But do they make a point that you can remember? Do they have key takeaways that you can walk away with and go like, oh, I got something out of that? Not necessarily, because they haven't really clarified, who am I talking to? What do I really want them to walk away with? And so then you have your revisers, and your revisers are people who are scared to start something new. And so they just keep repolishing over and over and over again what already is. Right? And so it's like, I'm certain about this. I have certainty around this thing. So I'm going to show up every day and just make it better. But is it the thing that they actually want? Not necessarily. And is it something that anybody else asked for? Not necessarily. So these are the people who will, make a huge dinner for a dinner party that they never invited anyone to, and then wonder why nobody showed up. These people, right? Where it's like, I've written 20 books and nobody's buying them because I have no audience that I've built up. We need to be having those conversations and having that conversation with ourselves first, of who do I really want to serve in the world? What do I really value? What matters most to me, and who else values that? So that's your main audience, the people who value what you value. Then there's a subset of that audience that has a problem that your gifts help to solve. So you've got these natural gifts You were born with this. It's not something you asked for. It's by pure grace alone that you have this gift. And it solves a problem. Now, the subset of your audience that has the problem that you solve, now those are your clients, right? These are the people that you really can do something for and help. Once you sort all of that out and figure that out and start showing up authentically as like, this is what I desire, this is what I value, this is who I am, and showing up in the world and offering that gift, because we're so scared. We're so scared to offer our natural gift, aren't we? We're so scared. We're like, but I got all these marketable skills. Don't you want to see those? This is what people have paid me for my whole life. So this must be really important, right? Because we're so scared of people judging our natural gift as not good enough or not important enough. And so we hide it. And so we have these like delicious brownies, right? That we're like hiding away in the kitchen, where we're putting out a smorgasbord of like other stuff that I found in the fridge. And nobody even knows that they're there. Like every once in a while they'll catch a whiff and be like, what's that smell? And you'll be like, oh, this is my brownie. Don't worry about it. Nothing. Right? We have such a hard time stepping into our authority and saying, I'm good at this. I'm really good at this. And I love doing this. And I love helping other people with this. And once we start showing up with that, this is where this comes in handy, right? Once you've aligned all of that stuff, once you just start showing up for the process. And I do it on the lunar cycle so that on the new moon, I'm dreaming. So this is like rest time. This is, I'm not taking on any new projects right now. Okay. I am allowing myself to just be fertile ground for an idea that hasn't even come to me yet. I am allowing myself to just be in the moment and not do anything. And this is something we're so uncomfortable with in this society. It's so hard to justify to ourselves. But this is the foundation of the rest of the cycle. If you skip it, nothing works right. Nothing works right. And so you have to show up for your rest like you show up for your execution. You have to show up for that dream time and just say, okay, I'm here, I'm open, I'm ready. Send me an idea. And then when you get that idea, and you will get that idea, trust me, you gotta trust the process. That's like the biggest thing here. If you get nothing else out of this today, trust your process. Show up for it, enjoy it, trust it. So when you get an idea, and you will get an idea, that's when you want to start to provide for and protect that idea. So it's like the total yin of the new moon, right? And then it goes into the waxing moon, where you're getting a little more yang in there, a little more yang energy. And this is where you're like, okay, I got this little sprout. I need to water it. I need to see what, and you can start to experiment and be playful. This is the young part of the cycle, where you're trying new things you've never tried before. I just gave people on TikTok the idea this morning of doodle with your opposite hand today. Just pick up the pen with the wrong hand and start doodling. It engages your brain in a new way. It helps you see things from a new perspective. And you are able to see gateways that you would never normally see. It's like you're in a labyrinth, right? And you're feeling along the wall. And so often we're just like banging on the wall, like, let me through, rather than looking for that opening, right? But every once in a while, it's like everything just lines up and you can just go. You can just go. And that's what happens when you're really aligned with your desire and you're in your process. So you get this organizing energy and you're like, okay, I'm gonna do all the things. Then we get to execution. And this is where a lot of people, like I said, they fall down. Because it's like you've built the house, you've got this structure, but then you have to fill it with something. And this is where it is so essential to drop all judgment. You cannot have the little, critic sitting on your shoulder while you're trying to do this. It's like, okay, I love my reviser. My reviser is incredibly useful and important. And also, she does not get to drive during this part of the road trip. She's in the back. She's got her snacks. Because right now, you just need to pour it out. It's like channeling. You just go without stopping, get everything out of yourself, and make a giant mess. It's like finger painting, okay? You just need to like smear it, just make a big mess. Because once you have a mess, then you can make something out of that. But until you have a mess, you don't have anything at all except what's up here. And that's nothing that you can work with in the real world. So this is that magic alchemy time where you're actually getting stuff out into the world. And there's all kinds of exercises that I have in the book to help you do that. But I'll give you one right now, which is just a free write. Even if you're not a writer, it is a really good thing to do to just get whatever is up here out. Now, if you don't like to write, if it gives you a hand cramp, or you get really tired sitting at your keyboard, just talk into your phone. Go for a walk. Do a walk and talk. I do that all the time. You can use transcription apps, or you can just make a voice note, right? But just get it out. No judgment, no stopping. Finally, we have revising time. And this is like the autumn of your cycle, right? So the full moon is when you're doing the pouring out, the execution. And now we're in the waning phase. And this is where we're looking back at what we created, but we're also looking back at our cycle and saying, what worked for me? What didn't work? What am I going to do differently next time? So we look at what we created, and now we're really putting ourselves into the shoes of our audience. We are thinking through the lens of, okay, I've defined my audience now. I know who that is. And so what do they really need? What is the problem that they are struggling with? They are stuck somewhere, right? They're stuck right here. They don't want to be here. They want to be over here, but they're stuck right here. So what we do is we help them get from here to here. And if what you have created does not do that, then it wasn't for your audience. Now, that doesn't mean it was useless. You probably learned some great stuff and poured some important things out that like needed to get out, right? But this is not something to share with your audience, and that's okay. But if there's something in there, I call it the golden apple, right? It's like you've grown this beautiful orchard in this process. And now you're going through and you're looking for the golden apples, because what your audience wants is an apple pie. Now, that doesn't mean pears are disgusting. That doesn't mean plums are useless. It just means that right now you're looking for the golden apples, those things that your audience is going to say, aha, I get it. This is going to take me from here to here. This gets me from here to here. This gets me from here to here. This gets me from here to here. And so once you identify, okay, here are my golden apples, this is what I'm going to really dive into and make sure that it is as useful and juicy and delicious as possible for this particular audience. And everything that's not, it just gets mulched. It goes back into the soil of your creativity, and it will be useful down the road for something else entirely. And then we take the time. I cannot stress this enough. Then we take the time to celebrate. You take the time to celebrate. Whatever you got accomplished, even if what you got accomplished is realizing this is not the project for me. This is not the project for my audience. That too is a great accomplishment. So we take the time to celebrate before we release that cycle and move on to the next. And it's because it's a cycle, it's going to come around again, right? And so if you didn't get like the results that you were hoping for this time, that's okay. It's coming back around. It's coming back around. Trust the process. Just keep showing up for the process. It needs to be playful. It needs to be fun. So there's a book, Atomic Habits, super popular right now, #1 on Amazon. Do you know why it's so popular? Because all it says, like I'll save you the time of reading the whole book. Okay,
Read it.
if your habits are fun, you will show up for them. If you can make it easy and enjoyable on yourself, you will make it into a habit. And then you don't have to think about it anymore. And you just do it automatically. That's the whole thing. And this is true so like everywhere, but especially when it comes to your creativity. If you do not enjoy your creative process, you will not show up for it, because you will have a million excuses, a million reasons, a million things that seem so much more important and so much more urgent and pressing than creating what you're here to create in the world, right? Your kid needs something, your boss needs something, your dog needs something, like everybody needs something from you, and you will find a million reasons not to spend the time on this. Unless it's so enjoyable for you that you decide, nah, I'm doing it anyway because I love it. So the key to all of this is to make it so easeful and so enjoyable just to show up for your creative process, to have that structure already there. So it's like, you don't have to ask yourself, what should I be doing today? You just show up and you know what the next thing is, because here's a chart that tells you what the next thing is, right? And you show up and you enjoy, like squeeze all the enjoyment juice out of that part of the process while you're in it. You know, a spoonful of sugar, it doesn't just help the medicine go down. It motivates you to show up for the next dose. It becomes this magic of you are feeling good while you're doing this. And so you show up for it more and more and more good stuff comes out of it. But when you force yourself, when you're like, I'm not in the mood, I just like, this doesn't feel right to me, right? And you force yourself to do it anyway, guess what happens? Next time you're like, I don't really, like even subconsciously, you just start to get this feeling of like, I don't know, maybe I'll do something else.
So Adrienne, you
Yeah.
also on your website, you have a course. Can you tell us about the course that you do?
Absolutely. So this is the Release Your Masterpiece course. And what I do is I really help you to step into desire, to recognize what it is that you really want and how you want to be seen in the world. What do you want to be known for? So I help you step fully into your authority and start giving your authentic gifts to the world shamelessly and continuously and joyfully, so that when you are showing up, and you will start showing up, right? You are coming as an authority on this thing that you really believe in. And people start to see you that way. Because I'll tell you, there is nothing worse than getting accolades for something that you don't connect to, that you don't actually care about. Have you had this experience where it's like someone's applauding you or they're telling you this is great and you're like, that doesn't actually connect with who I am or what I want to be in any way? And so it's this horrible feeling of like, I should be happy right now, right? But it feels so empty. And I always say, you know, no amount of like best-selling books and standing room only crowds and applause and letters after your name, right, will make you feel like you are enough just as you are. The only spotlight worth standing in is the one that shines from within you. And once you align to that, it transforms your whole life. Now you know exactly who you're talking to. You know exactly what you want to provide for them. You know exactly where to find them. And when you have this cycle, it makes it so easy to just create resonant content for them that they just are like, yes, more, more, more. Thank you so much. This is exactly what I needed today. Just like you guys just said, right? How amazing does that feel to me? Say, you showed up for me today. I needed this. And all I did was just show up with my authentic energy and say the stuff that I love to say. That feels amazing. I want everyone to have that experience. And so that's why I created this course, so that you too can have that experience of just showing up in your life as yourself and having people say, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you're here. I needed you.
I feel like giving you a standing ovation.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Energy is quite contagious. And so I know that your books are also available on your website.
Mhm.
And your
Um,
website is, can you just remind us of that?
Yeah, it's Audrey Mac. So it's ADRIEMAC.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I will have to make a note of that, and then we can connect with you like that. And also, I think it says link, is it
Linktree.
Linktree?
Yeah, so my Linktree is where I have all my social links. I like to keep
Okay.
it in space.
Okay.
You don't have to give you like 5 million. You can just go to Linktree, and you can also directly set up a meeting with me.
Perfect. Excellent. Okay, wonderful. Well, this was absolutely amazing. I love the energy. It's so contagious. I want to jump up and down with you.
I want to go outside and look at the moon.
Right.
Oh,
Right.
yes. Well, I'll tell you, we are in the waxing moon right now. We are heading toward a full moon. Let me actually look. I have it on my calendar when the next full moon is going to be. 1 second. That will be on the 6th, next Thursday. And so when full moon energy comes, like I said, that's the time to like rip off the Band-Aid, do the thing that you've been avoiding, whatever it is that you've been like a little bit scared of, like do it on the full moon. All the energy is behind you and you will get much better results.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Excellent.
Fantastic is right.
Well, thank you so much for giving us so much to think about and all this wonderful energy today. And it was absolutely fantastic. Really appreciate that.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
So now I have another favorite person who lives in Seattle.
Right.
You'll have to come visit.
Absolutely. So if you enjoyed what you just heard today, visit Adrienne's site. I mean, I'm just feeling so empowered, right? I just feel so warm inside. I feel full of light. I truly do. And if you enjoyed listening to what we were saying, please subscribe. And we have lots more really amazing stuff here on the Hopenning.
Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.